Wow, that's awesome.
And how far post-op were you when you got pregnant?
just over 3 years. So I got pregnant. Yes. So I'm just trying to think. Yeah. So not November, just the one before, it would have been 3 years. And then I got pregnant the month after that. So yeah, 3 years post-op when I got pregnant.
Okay. So you waited until you had a very solid groundwork of your routine and you being a bariatric patient before. Guess what, guys?
We're not doctors.
No, we are not.
If you're going to be making any major medical decisions, please consult your doctor.
That includes diets, exercise, medications, and surgery.
We love you guys.
And we want you to continue to be in our OSLP family forever.
So be careful and consult your doctors. We all need our vitamins after surgery, regardless of what you think.
Yes.
It's a must.
Yes. So why not choose the easiest and the best tasting in the community?
Seriously, it's ProCare, guys. ProCare is so delicious. I use their chewable for over a year. That's how I know.
Yes, and I love their capsules.
Yes.
Love them. They're once a day. I take them at night. Easy peasy, and my labs are fantastic.
Yeah, our labs are great. And I've actually switched to the capsules and I take those at night now. So if you guys need your iron, they have them with iron and they have them iron free. They even have calcium chews.
Yes, the calcium chews, perfect. They have mocktail ones, chocolate. They have also some caramel and a cinnamon roll.
They're freaking delicious. So go over to procarenow.com and use our code OSLP to save some money.
Prepping and measuring your food post-op is a beast all in itself. But Portion Perfection has actually made it super, super simple. They have bowls, plates, and even a lunch bag called the Kit and Carry where you can have all of the system ready to go.
Yeah, we love carrying that thing around with us. It's so much easier to pack your lunch, your snacks, especially when you're on a road trip. That thing is a lifesaver.
Yes.
So if you want to get these things to help your journey, just go over to portionperfection.com and use our code 15OSL pod. And again, that's 15OSL pod. And you can also go over to our Amazon storefront to pick out any of those that you would like to use.
All know how difficult post-op life can be.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking hard, guys.
Yes. And so a way to make it a little bit easier is by joining the Tribe membership program. It has been created by a registered dietitian. She's actually the sleeve dietitian on Instagram. Her name is Jamie. And she's created this whole membership program just to support us.
Yeah, like we've had her on the podcast. We love her to freaking death. And then two, like she has full experts in their field that help you. And they've had bariatric surgery, almost every one of them.
Yes.
And the sleep dietitian is freaking smart because she has almost a support group every single day, guys.
Yes.
You're going to get an email. It's going to tell you which ones are for today. And you can just sign up and hang out with people that are just like you. And I've even used the journal prompts. I'm into journaling, and that was way helpful to just go somewhere that can help you and just get your mind going.
Yes.
So if you need this kind of support, which a lot of us do, go to her website and use our code OSLP at checkout to get your discount. Welcome back, OSLP family. Welcome, welcome.
You are listening to our Sleep Life podcast, and this is Kelly.
This is Mel.
And we just want to remind you that as of right now, we are on tour.
We're on tour.
Not this exact moment.
No, but when this airs, we'll be in Brooklyn, actually.
We will be in Brooklyn.
Yeah, we'll be in the Northeast corridor. We're going to be doing the actual Brooklyn show on February 25th. If you have not gotten your tickets yet, go over there and get your tickets right freaking now because it's just at oursleevelifepodcast.com. Click the little tour button and then go ahead and pick the Brooklyn because we have Jay Arps that's coming with us. And we have, as Kelly coined him, Hot Rob.
Yes. So he does not like it. So I'm now coining him as Jersey Rob.
Jersey Rob. There
Jersey
you
Rob.
go.
Yeah.
And my kid calls him Robbie. So there you go.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
That sounds good.
So he'll be there with us. So come hang out and have a great old time because we're going to do a live show for you, and then we get to party with you.
Yeah, we just get to hang out and meet everybody and talk and kind of just be within our bariatric family.
I know, I love it.
Yes,
I'm so stoked.
Yes. So yeah, go and get your ticket right now. Hopefully they're not sold out.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully they
are, but
hopefully they're not for you. And make sure that while you are on our website to sign up for our newsletter. The newsletter kind of gives you a gist of what we've been up to for the month. When you first sign up, also, you do get a free ebook that is...
Yeah, it's 28 pages long. It's fun.
Yeah, and it's got all of our favorite products in there, favorite episodes for whatever you might need. It's a very cool thing, and it is free. So go over, sign up, get your free ebook. Get your ticket for Brooklyn.
And those people all know that we're going on tour before anybody else.
Yes.
So that's the cool thing when you're on the newsletter.
Who else knows first?
I know who you're going to say.
Our patrons. Yeah. Our patrons know first. So they get first crack at everything. And if you want to sign up to help support us, that is at patreon.com/OSLP. And the tier you want to pick is our benchy tier.
Yeah, at least the $7 or higher tier.
Yes.
Our most like top one picked is the $10 one because you also get the That's What She Said corner, and you get all the videos early. You get us every month for a Patreon call. So, and we sometimes bring experts on because last month we had Jamie on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to sign up to be a patron, and we are so stoked that we have this exclusive Facebook group. For our benchies, and they get to talk, they get to get advice, they ask all sorts of questions. We celebrate their wins with them. So
help them through the losses. And also you don't have to be already like had surgery. We actually have people in there that are pre-op as well.
And have been pre-op for a while.
Because it's a good resource for them to like know what's about to come, and they can ask all the questions in that support group. So
correct. And then the final thing we need you to go do, and this is a free way to support us, go over to YouTube, type in Our Sleeve Life Podcast. We are the only ones. And subscribe, hit the little bell so you're notified when videos like this one drop 10 days after the original date. Because, again, our patrons get that all.
Yeah, they get everything first, man. And what's cool is if you were already on our YouTube, you would know we have a special guest with us today.
We do have a special guest
We
today.
do.
So let's welcome on Laura.
Laura.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
No, thank you for having me on. I'm really excited.
Yay. There's so much stuff about your journey so far. So that we cannot wait to hear all the things. But can we go back to when you first recognized that you had a weight issue, or when you started kind of battling that?
Yeah. So going really far back to when I was kind of like preteen. So I was not diagnosed with, but I would say very much on that kind of, eating disorder, anorexic path, where I was very concerned about my weight, severely restricting what I was eating, writing down the calories in an apple and then maybe only having half of it because an apple has a lot of calories, was like the mindset that I was in. So from quite a young age, very disordered eating, really bad relationship with my body. And then I kind of went through that, and I would say semi-recovered, became a bit, more interested in health as opposed to just weight, and more conscious of that in my teens. And then unfortunately with my now husband, we've been together almost 12 years, but when I was in my late teens, I fell pregnant with twins that we miscarried. And so for me, that was like a really big trigger. And I noticed myself like not eating, being very, overly concerned again about the calories and things, and even considering if things like flavored water, like should I be drinking that because there's like 5 calories in this bottle. And I had a bit of a freak out and went the other way. So started forcing myself to eat until I was completely full and felt like I was going to throw up. Because I was scared of going like back in the other direction. And of course what ended up happening from that was a bit of that, binge restrict cycle again and again. And I gained quite a lot of weight in a really short period of time. So I think it was around 30 kilos, so like 60, 65 pounds in about 3 months.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a really big amount of weight to gain in such a short period of time. And so that's when I was obviously overweight and really unhealthy, both in my physical being and then also mentally as well. And ever since then, I just kind of fell into that, which I think most of us do, is that yo-yo dieting of I would lose like 10 kilos, 20 pounds, and then I would gain it back. And every time I tried, I would gain back more, and then I would feel worse about myself. And I just kind of got stuck in this really bad cycle that, I think most people can relate. You find wow, this is really going to work for me. And you're all excited about it and you do it for a week or a month. And then for some reason, like what you've done is not realistic for you and you can't keep doing it, or something happens in your life and you skip it. And you feel like, oh, what's the point anymore? And you end up back where you started, if not in a worse position. So yeah, that was kind of in a nutshell, I guess, like what led to me being like obese and really in an unhealthy state of life, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your top weight?
My heaviest weight that I recorded was like 268 pounds, I think. But I think I probably weighed more than that at some point when I wasn't weighing.
Yeah. How tall are you?
I'm very tall at like 5'3", just.
Oh man. Yeah. So like the 5'3" stature with 268, that's, and maybe more. Yeah. That's gotta be hard on your frame.
Yeah, for sure.
Very much.
Yeah.
Were you starting to feel like your hips hurting, your knees hurting? Was it hard for you to like do activities?
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I would say yes, it was hard for me to do activities. And at the same time, no, it wasn't, because I simply didn't do them. Like I didn't, you know, my husband's very fit, so he would want to go for a hike. And there would always be some reason why I couldn't go, or it wasn't going to work, because I just wouldn't put myself in that position, because I knew that it was difficult for me and I didn't like it. I didn't want to be the slowest one, and I didn't want to hurt for days afterwards. And I went through 2 pregnancies at that weight when I had my daughter and my son. And so of course that, you know, like you're pregnant and you're gaining weight. I had a condition with my daughter called, saying it wrong, I think, polyhydramnios, which is basically where you have excess fluid. So I gained like 50 pounds when I was pregnant with her, and a lot of it was fluid. So again, just so much more weight on you that you're carrying around, that it does get difficult even just to do normal things. You know, like we had a supermarket close enough that I could have actually walked to it, but I couldn't.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Wow.
So you had 2 children during that process. And and then when you got to your level, like what made you trigger to be like, okay, I got my kids, got my family, but now I need surgery?
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen?
So for me, it was a couple of big things that kind of happened. So I had my second son, my second child, my first son. And when he was about 3 months old, I noticed that I felt like he wasn't growing the way that he should have been. And my like health advisor that we see after we have babies was like, yeah, I don't think he's getting enough milk. I think because I was breastfeeding him. So I think your milk supply might be dropping. And I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense, because I'd exclusively breastfed my daughter. I was still feeding her. She was 2. I'd fed throughout my pregnancy. So I was kind of like, it doesn't really make sense. Like why all of a sudden I just lose my milk supply when I'd had it through pregnancy and everything like that. So I was like, something's wrong with me. And I just had this kind of, I don't know, like this wave wash over me. And I was like, there's something wrong with me. And it was a couple of weeks later that I noticed there was like a lump in my neck. So long story short, so I went to go and get it checked out. And they said that they thought that it could be either like nodules or a tumor or something. They kind of weren't 100% sure.
Right.
So I had a biopsy done to see whether it was a benign tumor. Oh, sorry, it came back saying it was a tumor. So then they decided to it was a benign tumor or a cancerous tumor, and the results came back inconclusive. So they basically said that they weren't really sure and that I should just get it taken out anyway, be safe. Either that, or I should just lose a bunch of weight, and then that will obviously help with my thyroid. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, that's cool. Like I've not tried to lose a bunch of weight by myself before. You can't just say to me, oh, just go lose 30 kilos. It's going to help. Yeah. And I'm thinking, cool, can I have some, like, what am I supposed to do? I've tried this before.
Yeah. Like we've all tried those. Like if it was easy, we would have already been smaller. Like, my goodness.
Exactly. Like if it was easy, I wouldn't be in this predicament. So I was kind of like not quite sure what it was that I wanted to do. And then so I ended up having my ex-sister-in-law. So my mum and her dad used to be together, and now they're not, but I'm still very close to the family. And so we were hanging out, and she said to me, my friend has just had weight loss surgery. And she was telling me all about it. And she said, I'm going to go and get it too. And my first reaction was just like, first of all, I'm thinking like, why would you do that? And I'm thinking, oh, it's kind of like you're cheating, you know, like you're cheating, you should be able to do it yourself. Because I'm sitting there thinking like, well, I should be able to do this myself. So you should be able to do it yourself too. Like not even thinking of, obviously we all know absolutely not cheating, but I was just thinking like, yeah. So anyway, she ended up telling me all about it, and I kind of watched what happened with her over the next few months. And she started talking to me about the mindset and things like this. And I just kind of went, okay, it sounds more than I thought that it was. And so I started researching into it to be like, well, what is the deal? First of all, what do they even do? Why does it work? Like, how is this going to, because I knew mine was like mental issues, if that makes sense. I knew that it was overeating because I was stressed and emotional. So I'm thinking, how is surgery on my stomach going to help with my head anyway? So it's not even going to work. And I started looking more and more into it and just thinking like, actually, this could be like the start for me. Like I could do this and I could lose the weight. And during that first, golden year, if I really focused on my stress coping mechanisms and my emotional eating and things, if I utilized that time where I was rapidly losing weight, in a year or 2 years, I could end up having worked through those issues mentally and have had the physical change in my body. And I could actually be in a position where like my life could be different. And I had this, like that bubble of hope. And I was like, wow, maybe this could be for me. And so, it was from that I ended up going to go and get the surgery. I went to the same surgeon that she used. I had the sleeve. And everything went really, really well with that. I obviously lost quite a lot of weight. From the tumor perspective, there was no change. So it didn't grow and it didn't change, which was good. But it also didn't go away or make any difference really. So you can see, I ended up having it taken out about, I think 8 months after I had bariatric surgery. So I had another surgery. So they took half my thyroid out and then they tested the tumor and it was benign. So I was really lucky in that regard that once they took it out. It was a nice round ball that hadn't done anything else, is what they explained to me. So that was kind of like that catalyst of me sort of thinking, I really need to do something. And that was what led me into bariatric surgery. And I would have never heard of it if it wasn't for her. And I wouldn't have probably considered it if I wasn't looking at that, what to me at the time felt like this kind of life or death. I was like, maybe I have a thyroid tumor and I have 2 small children and a new husband. And it was that moment where you just think, I have to do something. And if I don't do something now, I don't know what else I'm going to do here. It felt like that wall that I had hit. I think everybody who has decided to go through bariatric surgery has hit that wall and been like, I can't, I don't know what else to do now. And because it is obviously a really big decision. It's not like you don't just wake up one morning and be like, you know what, I'm going to go and have surgery and have them cut parts of me out. Not even be able to eat an egg because I'm too full. All my changes that go with that.
Yeah. I really like that you said bubble of hope.
Yeah.
Because I think I really relate with that, because when you realize that there's something else out there that has helped so many people, and you're like, wait a minute, maybe this could work. Maybe this could help solve the problems. That bubble of hope is what I think got me through my 6-month process. Yeah. Because I was just like, okay, this is going to work. This is going to work. There's nothing else left. I've tried all the diets. I've done all the things. And I relate a lot with you because I still do. I have disordered eating problems, but it started in my teens. Mm-hmm. And I also had the binge and restrict, or the, I'm not going to eat anything but, apple cider
vinegar,
whatever water that they were. It was like apple cider and cayenne pepper or something like that. And that was supposed to
with lemon and something else. I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, it was like this big thing and everybody was drinking it. I'm like, how? But I guess if it gets rid of my fat, I'll do that. I think that's what everybody thinks. If it'll work, if it'll get rid of the fat and I don't feel like this anymore, then fine. I'll do it. Yeah. Which is so funny because it's so
it doesn't, it's not logical.
Yeah. It's not logical, but then surgery is
so scary.
Yeah.
And not allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think it's interesting that so they knew that they saw this tumor and then they're like, you need to either do, surgically or you need to lose weight really fast, but they never gave you the option of weight loss surgery.
No, that was something that was never mentioned. It was like, go and lose weight yourself or get the tumor cut out. It was never even something that got offered. I actually hadn't thought about that. The fact that the surgeon that I saw I've actually never fact that they didn't say, if you want to we want you to lose weight, this could be an option for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those busters.
I think that doctors do that a lot, though. I think that the options are, you have A, B, and C problems, so you need to lose weight, and that's where it ends. There's never here's some options. You could do a GLP-1 medication. You could do a surgery. There's other ways to lose weight. And I don't think doctors think that we need those options because we don't know all that's out there.
Mm-mm.
Before my rheumatologist mentioned it, I had no idea that, I knew Mel had it,
right?
But I didn't know I had that option. I was completely unaware of that.
Well, and I've noticed with Dr. Patterson, what she told me is that medicine is always about a decade behind. So they're always learning behind the scenes and they're trying to keep up. So it's they don't know. So we don't know. Yeah, so it's almost like a trickle down situation.
But weight loss surgery's been around for a while.
Oh, totally. Now, now it should just be offered.
I mean, even 4 years ago, because I'm going to be going on my 4th year. It's they know that it's an option. Yeah. They had to. I mean, if you're a good doctor and you're doing all of your continuing educations, you should know that this is an option for your patients.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where it starts because people go in and they say, I'm not losing weight. I don't know what to do. I'm this weight and I'm just completely hopeless. That should be the next step. Mm-hmm. Well, here you go.
Yeah. Well, and we've learned that the medical community is kind of biased as well.
They are.
They have their own stigmas. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's because as well, there's this kind of preconception about people who are obese that we're just, I don't know, these uncaring, lazy people who don't care about their health and there's this mean almost preconception. And I think even in the medical world, they have this idea, for me in my situation that they're just she probably just needs to walk more and eat less takeout. And it's it's not that simple. It's not I'm consciously choosing to do this because I like being like this. I'm in a place where I need help and I've dug a hole and I don't know how to get out of it. Yeah. And the idea that they have that I could have just walked out of that clinic and lost weight by just making these super easy breezy changes. Mm-hmm. It's they're not considering how much mental anguish is behind the situation that you're in. They're just seeing you and making all these judgments about you and your lifestyle and your decision without thinking about maybe it's coping mechanisms. Maybe this is how you handle things. Maybe there is actually an underlying medical condition that you have as to why you're obese because, obviously statistically obese people get kind of pushed to the side and it's it's just because you're overweight. It's just because you're overweight. Yep. And so it might actually be something that's an issue there. And I think that kind of plays into it and is probably why it wasn't recommended to me.
Yeah,
not what I about
absolutely. So once you've how did you actually find the surgeon? Did you just go to the one that your friend was going to, or how did you find your facility?
Yeah. So basically I just went to the same one that she went to. I was very scared. I mean, again, it was a big decision for me. I had 2 small children and I was going for elective surgery, so I was I was extremely nervous about it. And so I thought by going to someone, so her friend had used the same surgeon and then she had used the same surgeon and I'd really read really good things. She was the only woman surgeon that I could find that did it where I lived. And so, that's just why I went with her and had a really, great experience.
That's awesome. What was, are you going to ask the same thing?
Probably. What was your process to get to surgery?
Yep.
We've been doing this for too long.
So I went private. So we had recently just sold our house. And so my husband said, let's just do it. So I'm from New Zealand. In New Zealand, we do have, we have public healthcare. So I could have gone on the public healthcare list and gone through it with that way. But sometimes it takes 2 months, sometimes it takes 4 years. It really depends on priority, how they grade you. There's lots of, hoops that you need to jump through to be able to do it. So, we just kind of said maybe we should go private. And I was really concerned about the cost of it. Obviously, it's quite expensive to pay out of pocket. Mm-hmm. But my husband's argument to it was that if it helped me to be, happy and to work through, the the coping mechanisms and the issues that I had, and it was going to be beneficial for my health, and it was beneficial for, the family. And so, like I said, he wanted to go like hiking and go camping as a family, and I never wanted to do these things. Mm-hmm. So he was like, even if it just changed that we got out and we did more things as a family, and, like that in itself would be really good. So yeah, I went private. So for me, what led up to it was basically nothing. Like I went up there, she was 2 hours away from us. So I went up there, I went and saw her. She obviously got all of my medical records, deemed that I was fit for surgery. We had a consultation and booked it in pretty much immediately.
Wow.
They recommended that I go and see like a psychologist, but I didn't have to. So I went and did one session just because I kind of wanted to talk through with somebody myself, just saying like that I'd had all these kind of issues with food, and I was a bit worried about, I cope with my emotions with food. Mm-hmm. So once that ability was taken away from me, would I feel like I didn't have any way to cope? Would I, turn to something else that would maybe be more detrimental? I've had panic attacks in the past. So I was imagining like having a panic attack because I can't stress eat because my stomach's too small. So I wanted to talk to someone. So I voluntarily went and did that, but it was just one session. But there was nothing that I needed to do to have the surgery. And it was booked for 2 weeks later. I think it was
that's impressive.
Pretty quick. Yeah.
Okay. And what has life been like since surgery?
Incredible. Yeah, one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Like I will put it up there with like marrying my husband and having my children. Like it's completely changed my life. Like the whole direction of what I do, it changed my work, what I do for a job. So I went into a different career. It's changed the way I am and the type of mum that I am. It's changed me as a wife. It's changed me as a person. It's changed the way we live our life and what decisions we decided to do with that. So pretty much every single area of my life changed for the better after surgery. And there's a lot of work. Like it wasn't just the bariatric surgery that went into that. Like, I studied a lot of different things and read a lot of different books and put a lot of time and effort into it. But those were just choices that I made. Like I'm not a magical unicorn, I just did the things. And that's why I'm such a fan, I guess, of bariatric surgery, because I feel like for a lot of people, it's step one. Everything else after that is just as important. But when you're so caught up, like I was in, that cycle of you can't get out of it, and you need something big to kind of wrench you away from that. Mm-hmm. And once that happens, it kind of clears a few things and it allows you to move forward from a different place, whereas perhaps you couldn't have moved forward in that way from where you were before surgery.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, because like it's such a big deal. Like it does change everything.
It does.
As much as we say like we're the same, we're not the same.
Well, I think the core, I think we're the same, but it's the decisions that you make and you have more of a choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over things versus before your choices were, okay, do I want to be in pain? No. So I'm just going to stay home.
Yeah. Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how did your disordered eating change?
Yeah. Did you see
Because I want to know what your coping is, because that was one thing you were very scared about, was the coping after. So what did you use to cope with instead of food?
So I just tried a bunch of different stuff. I almost want to say like, my husband would probably say it was a messy 6 months, where I was just more emotional, everything was more. When I was happy, I was happier. When I was sad, I was sadder. When I was angry, I was angry. And it was like, I'd almost kind of kept my emotions at bay with food. Oh, yeah. And so then when the food wasn't there, like, so say I was starting to feel a bit angry, I'd just go and eat something or drink something, and that would kind of like soothe me. Whereas because I didn't have that option, I mean, I could go and do that, but it didn't work because to begin with, you could only have a tiny bit. And I was worried about like ruining my sleeve. So I didn't want to do that. And so those emotions kind of boiled over. So I think it was quite heightened for a period of time. That's definitely what I experienced. And so I tried a lot of different things because I wasn't sure what was going to work. So of course, I sat on my computer on Google and was like, different ways to reduce stress. Like, what do you when you're feeling angry?
Yeah.
And I tried a bunch of different things. So I tried yoga and meditation. I did breathing techniques. I tried journaling, like power poses. I tried like silence. I'm trying to think of all the different things that I would do, like playing, like a favorite song that I loved, going for a walk. I focused on trying to like getting to the source of it. So being like, okay, so almost like in two parts. So saying, okay, if this situation is making me stressful, making me feel stressed and it's a stressful situation, I do need to learn how to cope with my stress in a way that's not food. So it's like that's technically part two. But the first thing I was looking at, but then part one was like, well, what is the stressful situation? Like, is there anything I could actually do before the stressful situation so I don't end up in the stressful situation?
Yeah, like how do you prevent it?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of going backwards and being like, okay, so I was a mum of two small kids, and I'd feel mornings for me were really stressful. I'm not a morning person. So when my kids are up, we used to be up like 5 o'clock in the morning. So I would almost wake up in this like stressed state and just want to eat something. So of course I need to deal with that stress and manage that differently. But I was like, well, is there anything that I could do that would make my mornings less stressful? So I started planning the night before. So I started like pre-making breakfast so it was easy to grab. I'd have my kids' clothes ready. I'd have my clothes ready. I'd have my shower in the evening instead of in the morning. Just little random things that meant that when I woke up in the morning, I still felt a bit stressed and I still needed to manage my stress, but I'd already done things to make it easier. I wasn't searching for the kids' clothes. I wasn't trying to think, what am I going to make for breakfast? Do we even have any eggs? Like everything was already planned. So I could just kind of go through the motions. So my stress level was then decreased and I didn't have to manage as much stress because I'd reduced it. So then it was easier to manage the stress in different ways because I hadn't got to that highly stressed point where I wanted to binge eat, if that makes sense.
No, it does, because like it's like you dissected your day or like your situation, and like it's like you deconstructed it to see like what can I do to really prevent this from happening. Like I always say, like you're looking out for future you.
Yeah.
So like past you is happy with future you.
Future you is
happy with
the
past. Yeah. There we go.
Other
the
way
words
around.
will get it out.
Yeah.
But it's true though, because like we even say like put out your clothes like the night before.
Yeah, like if you're going
for
to the
workouts,
gym, like that's always a very stressful.
Yeah.
Like you're most of the time you're like getting right up and you're just getting dressed and like you're just wanting to get out the door because you want to get to the gym. So like putting your clothes out the night before, you already know what you're wearing.
Yep.
You can take your time, like washing your face, brushing your teeth, doing all the basic things, and then get dressed.
Yeah, because I'm a firm believer that the morning set the tone for the day. Yeah. So like in the stress that you're talking about, like it drives me bonkers when it's that stressful in the morning. Like it throws me off. I'm anxious all day. Like I don't have a headache, but it's almost like I have a headache, like a dullness. I'm just like, Urgh.
Yeah.
And if I could just wake up smoother, then my day goes a lot better.
But if you think about it, like just a few months ago, it might be closer to 6 months now, but you were starting to wake up earlier.
Yeah. It's slowly making yourself.
She slowly set this routine where every few months she would get up like 10 minutes earlier.
Yep.
And like slowly get into it. So now you're up at a reasonable time and you're able to drink your tea and kind of chill out before the day starts.
Yeah. It's very important because I notice my whole mood changes. So like now I'm able to get up around 7 a.m. without like, everybody talking to me and asking me 1,000 questions.
Yes.
And I'm like, no, I need to wake up, guys. Hold on.
Well, and that's why I set my alarm for 6 a.m. every single day during the week. I get up, I get my coffee, everything's quiet. I have an hour of quiet before the girls get up, and then teenage madness ensues.
Yeah.
But until that time, I get to slowly wake up. I get to play on my phone, watch a TV show for an hour, do whatever I need. And then it's less like, every morning.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then like changing the routine, like with the whole like taking the shower at nighttime. So listeners, I know like if you're a dedicated like in the morning person,
that is me.
It feels really foreign. Like I started doing nighttime showers too. Like I'll do that every once in a while just so that way like I have a house full of people right now. So that way I'm not in their way to get ready to go to school or work or whatever the deal is. And it feels odd at first. You're like, should I be taking a shower at 7 o'clock at night? This is fucking weird. But then you're like, it's fine. Like, this is just, it's your new normal. Like, you can do whatever the hell you want. You don't always have to do it at nighttime or always at nighttime.
Yeah, just switch up that
You just got to figure it out what actually works for your schedule, not for everybody else's schedule. Do it for you.
Yeah.
With nighttime showering as well, one thing, like off on a tangent, that I actually really like about it is I do this nighttime shower like visualization when I'm feeling really stressed. So basically when you stand in the shower and you close your eyes and you envision that the water coming down is like, you can do whatever you want. Like it's cleansing water, it's white light, or however it like feels good for you. And you imagine that it's washing all of the day off you. So everybody's negativity, other people's stress, like your stress, your anxieties, any sort of heightened emotions that you don't like. And you visualize it as like whatever color, like personally, I don't like the color red. So I imagine it as red. So in my head, I'm like seeing the water come down on me and I'm imagining this red, like washing off my body, and I see it going down the drain, and you keep doing the visualization until you visualize that all of the color has been washed off you and down the drain. And then you open your eyes. And I really like it because I feel like it just cleanses the day off me. And then I go to bed feeling like, yeah, like I've cleaned everything off. And so when I wake up and you feel like yesterday is gone, it's washed down the drain. None of this is going to impact my quality of sleep. It's not going to impact me the following day because it's just not like on me anymore. And I found that as well really helped with my mornings to wake up and feel like today is a new day and it's a fresh start. And I don't need to think about yesterday and drag all those emotions with me. And it took a while of practicing it to feel like it actually does something. But now that I've been doing it for a really long time, it feels really easy to just jump in the shower and be like, oh, I'm just going to wash the day off me, and wake up in the morning being like, yeah, that was yesterday's problem. Like, I'm not going to let it affect me today.
I love it.
Yeah, that's a really good visualization.
You've heard me say with the makeup and doing like the nightly thing where I'm like, I feel like I'm washing the day away. I'm just like, let's get this all off. Let's clean up. Let's just get ready for bed. Like, we need to wash all the drama and everything off my fucking face today. So now we can just hop in the shower.
Yes.
Yes. Because I like that.
I like the visualization.
Yeah. I'm a very visual person. So like I do imagine things all the time.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that's why we're creative.
Yeah.
Because when you're creative of a creative mindset, you start to picture things.
Yeah. You start seeing it. You're like, yes.
And that's why I think creative people also have more anxiety.
Probably.
Because you're envisioning more things. You're envisioning what could happen. And it's
you can go down a rabbit hole. That's for sure.
I've
done it for hours. Anyway,
one of my favorite quotes around like I've got 99 problems and 98 of them are made up situations in my head.
Yes.
That is totally
my God. If we can get the overthinking to stop.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
But I don't think that'll ever happen.
Well, I mean, there's pills for everything. So there might be something out there to make you stop thinking.
But that's the thing is like, I don't want to take something to stop thinking. I just want it to naturally happen. And that's just not going to.
I think that's where mindset and meditation and doing visualizations come in.
Yeah.
Because it brings you, and that's what yoga did for me for a long time. It was my moment during the day that I didn't have to talk to anybody. I didn't have to do anything. I just focused on the exercises and my breathing. That was it.
I have a question.
Yes.
When are you going to start that again?
I don't know. Me and Jamie are working on it.
Okay. Is that on the books?
Yeah. I sit on my yoga mat and journal.
That's a good start. Yeah.
That is my job right now.
I like it.
We're not focusing on that.
No, that's great though. Like the fact that you're journaling on the yoga mat.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I haven't done it in a while.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I was like, I keep looking at it. It's in the corner of my bedroom. And she's like, okay, so I want you to take it out and just sit on it. I'm like,
I love her.
She's like, journal. And I'm like, okay, JB, whatever you say. I'm sitting on my mat and I'm journaling.
Like,
so
take a picture.
Yes. So you lost 100% of your excess weight.
Yes.
Which is unheard of.
Which that is not normal.
Yeah. Tell us how that happened.
I don't think I did anything. I don't think I did anything like miraculous. I think like studying nutrition, like I did and really learning about it, that made it easy. I'm also an overachiever. So I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it like perfectly, which is a mindset that I've worked to get away from because while it can be helpful, it's not really beneficial overall. I don't know. I just feel like I it was, I don't want to say it was easy, but I feel like it was the last bit of weight was easier for me than the beginning bit. Just I found like, because I'd already gotten then into these habits and routines, and I understood my metabolism and my nutrition and what I needed to do. So I was like, right, just do that, make these adjustments, do this. And I felt knowledgeable and educated about it. So it felt easy to lose that last bit. So I was 100% of my excess body weight, and I lost over 50% of my total body weight.
Wow.
That's impressive. Very impressive.
So you're a nutritionist, or you just have a certificate in nutrition, or how does?
Yeah, so I'm a nutritionist. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I'm a nutritionist. So that's what I went and studied just after I had surgery, because I kind of knew that the surgery was going to make me lose weight. Like, how could it not? My stomach is 20% the size of what it used to be. Of course that I'm going to lose weight, but like, what does that do to my metabolism? I still like was going to mentally be coping, like, you know, as we kind of talked about, but then also nutritionally, I was like, well, I don't really understand nutrition, like protein, carbohydrates, fats, like what's the deal? How much of them do I need? Is one better than the other? You know, is this something that I should be concerned about? You know, what happens if I stop losing weight? And so I just kind of thought, okay, well, if I become educated about it and I understand it, then I can apply it to myself. So when I first actually started it, it wasn't with the goal to do it as a job. I was just like, I need to know all of these things to be as successful as possible. So I'm going to go and become qualified in it, because then I'll have the best knowledge. And so, I think that's something that really helped me, as well as I understood, you know, like weight fluctuations is something that, you know, I used to freak out about. Everybody freaks out about, especially if you're like, you know, 2 months out from surgery and your weight doesn't move and you're like, I've broken it. I've done something wrong. This is never going to work for me. You get really caught up in your head. Whereas at that point I was like, okay, let's go through like the weight fluctuation factors. What could be going on here? And tried to take like a outside of my body approach to it. So like look at me on paper and be like, right, this is this and this is that. Understand why it's happening. Oh, I had like more carbohydrates yesterday, so maybe I'm retaining some water. Like, oh, it's my period, so of course my weight's going to go up. And because I knew these things, I feel like I coped with them better. And so then I didn't ever really get stuck in a really big stall, because I knew why I'd stalled, and I just kept ticking on with what I was doing, rather than letting the stall like have me freak out and then end up doing something that prolonged the process.
Yeah. I like how you take every aspect of it and make it logical.
Yes.
Like you break it down and you're like, okay, this is what it is. Okay, it's going to be here, here, and here. This is what I need to do to fix this. I love how logical it is, because I was not logical.
No.
I don't think you were. You were kind of logical.
I was logical.
Yeah, she was logical.
I'm just logical.
I was not. And I think a lot of people aren't logical.
Yeah.
They're doing it because the doctor told them to do it, but they're not understanding why. Why are we doing these things? And what do I do? Because even like your nervousness before the surgery, you know, your first thought is, I don't want to have to try to cope with food after. Like, I want to deal with this and try to figure out where my stressors are.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important, because that didn't even pop into my head.
Yeah. Like, did you do any therapy though? Like, did you try to do any like actual like afterwards?
After surgery?
Like, I know you Googled a bunch of stuff to do, but did you get a professional to help too?
No. So I didn't go and work with anybody. I just did a lot of self-development work. So I took like free courses on things. I read a lot of, you know, like cognitive behavioral therapy books. I went to university way back when to study psychology, which I didn't follow through with, but I still had a bunch of like resources and books. So I went and grabbed those from my mum's house and went through and read those. So I just did a lot of like teaching myself, trying to understand things, reading a whole bunch of different stuff to come up with, you know, what I thought would work for me. And that's why before, you know, I said I just trialed a bunch of different things, because everybody is different, and what worked for me might not work for somebody else. And somebody else might say, oh, I did this and it helped me. And I'm thinking, how could that possibly help you? Like, that would never help me. And I think that's something that's quite, you know, important to remember throughout the process as well, is that like, just because someone else says, oh, I did it like this and it worked for me, like don't don't grab hold of that and be like, right, that's exactly what I need to do. And if I just do that, then I'm going to have the same results, because it might not work. You might not enjoy it. It might not be realistic for you. Like there's so many different variables there.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think this process, you need to have an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to like take in other people's ideas and like
but
thought
know
processes.
that's not the end.
Yeah, it's not Bible is what
Yeah.
what we call it. It's like it's not that. It's just like these are all the different things you can do. And then as long as you're open-minded to it, you can start trying the little things and figure out what actually works for you. Because a lot of us, I know at least for me, I was scared to try new stuff. I thought because I was going to fail. So I was like, I'll fail at this because I'm not good at this. So why would I even try?
Yeah.
And then it just spirals down to where like, well, if I would have done actually even a little bit of the first thing, then I could be a little bit further now.
Yeah.
Instead of working backwards. So
and most of the things are scary until you do it. And then it's like no big deal.
Yep.
Like we build it up in our head to be scarier than it is.
Mm-hmm.
And when you just focus and just do it, half the time it's like, oh, okay, that was no big deal.
Right.
Like I had to call the Alaska Airlines for the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally, it was like, oh, it's going to take so long. Oh, I don't want to. And then I finally called yesterday because I had like an hour. It took me like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It was so quick, so easy. The guy was so nice, and he swapped our flights and everything for no big deal. And I was like, oh, I probably should have done that 2 weeks ago. Then I wouldn't have been stressing about it for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's the deal. Is sometimes you have to rip off that Band-Aid and just do it.
Yeah.
And then you feel really good when it's done too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so I know you got pregnant post-op.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. How'd you handle that?
Yeah. So I feel like I wasn't super concerned about it, to be honest. Like, I guess I had the view that I'd already had 2 kids. So I figured that like getting pregnant would be fine. My pregnancy would be fine. Everything would be fine in that regard. So it wasn't, so I didn't have any concerns there. So I could just focus on my other worries with that. But yeah, I don't know. I think again, it just comes down to that kind of like education level and how I felt very confident that I would continue on my normal lifestyle when I was pregnant. I didn't use it as a justification to like eat differently or do anything different, other than I had a few complications towards the end of my pregnancy, which were not like weight loss surgery related. So there was that, but I just did I just did my normal stuff. And then I just knew, okay, well, when I've had my baby and I want to lose the baby weight that I have gained, I know how to do that. Like I know how to get into a calorie deficit. I know how to do this. I know what it is that I need to do. But that was obviously just because of the groundwork before that.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I think I never used to be, but since I had surgery and kind of made all these lifestyle changes, I'm much more of like an easy breezy person. So I was kind of just like, oh, well, like when I'm pregnant, I'll just keep my normal routines and I'll gain the weight that I need to gain, because if I'm not doing anything drastically different, then doesn't make sense that I gain like unnecessary amounts of weight. And then when she's here and I'm feeling better, I'll just increase my step count and I'll get back into, any routines that I'd kind of dropped off. Having a newborn, obviously you're exhausted. So I wasn't, doing as much activity as I normally was. So just going back into it slowly, that understanding. You mentioned before about doing like small changes to how you would wake up in the morning, waking up just a little bit earlier. And I totally believe that making small changes over a long period of time leads to a big change that you can actually keep going with. So again, that thought that like, well, after pregnancy, I may have gained some weight, but if I get back into the habits that I lost, if I lost any, but trying to keep going, that it would just be an easy go of it, which in most ways it has been. Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And how far post-op were you when you got pregnant?
Just over 3 years. So I got pregnant. Yes. So I'm just trying to think. Yeah. So not November, just the one before, it would have been 3 years. And then I got pregnant the month after that. So yeah, 3 years post-op when I got pregnant.
Okay. So you waited until you had a very solid groundwork of your routine and you being a bariatric patient before not jumping, but having another kid. Yeah. Like it wasn't intentional with the surgery side of things. It was because we started traveling and we weren't even sure if we were going to like have a third baby or not. But I definitely think that being
I guess, solid with everything was really helpful. Like you said, I already had my routines, my eating habits, everything like that. I just kept normal throughout pregnancy as much as I possibly could. So it wasn't like I was trying to adapt to post-surgery life while being pregnant and juggling things at once. It was like one kind of stage at a time. And I think that was definitely very helpful as to why I found pregnancy so easy and why it's been easy for me now post-pregnancy getting into things, as well as actual pregnancy itself. You know, like I had 2 pretty easy pregnancies the first time. So I was lucky that I had an easy pregnancy the third time as well. I didn't experience morning, like I've never had morning sickness. So I think that would have played a part in it if I had of, because I don't know about you guys, but I know for me, like since surgery, throwing up is like the worst.
Oh, I hate it.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I feel like everything's stuck, right? Oh, it's just
right in your chest.
Imagine, like morning sickness with that, and I never experienced that. And in some ways, I kind of wish that I did, just to know, like, you know, was it really bad or? Yeah. So,
well, what did you do about cravings? Because I know, because I do have a son, and I remember being pregnant and having these ridiculous cravings. Like, did you have any of those, or did you overindulge? Was it harder to? Because like, how does that even work with like your tummy's smaller, and then you're pregnant, but your baby wants more food than your stomach can handle. So how does that?
So something that I was looking into it when I was pregnant, and it's really hard to find any actual like evidence for it or like studies that they've done. But when you're pregnant, so you have the hormone in your system called relaxin that helps to like relax all your ligaments and everything so that you can, grow a baby and everything can move around. So from what I can understand with it is that actually helps your stomach to stretch as well. So the relaxin in your system makes your stomach more stretchy than it would normally be. And it makes logical sense to me that like that would happen. And also it made sense to me from what I was experiencing. So I knew how much food I could have. Like I knew if I was going to make a sandwich, how much of it I could eat, or if I was going to have a certain size bit of food. I know how much I can eat in general. And we all know that sometimes you can have more and sometimes you can have less, but I would never be able to eat more than like this. Sometimes when I was pregnant, I would have a bite and I'd be like, that's it, I'm done. Like I wasn't feeling sick, just like I felt full after one, like actually full up. Whereas other times I felt like I could eat double what I would normally be able to eat and still kind of be sitting there like, maybe I'm just going to go and like grab something from the fridge. Because I was always, just always hungry. And I'm a firm believer in like listening to your body, and you have to be able to like listen to your body with what your body needs, obviously within reason. So like when I was craving something, I would just have it. I wouldn't be like, no, I can't have this. Like for me, I don't have no foods are out of bounds. Like surgery wise, my surgeon never said you can't have this or you can't have that. I was told I could eat anything and everything that I wanted to. I've not had any reactions to anything or something that makes me feel yuck. So if I felt like having a piece of cake, I would just have a piece of cake rather than be like, oh, should I have the cake? Should I not? Like I knew I could have it. I just need to be smart about it. So maybe, I don't cook with olive oil for dinner that night because that's going to reduce some calories and I have them in the cake instead. Maybe I have a small piece today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day, but I plan for that rather than having a massive piece of cake now thinking like, well, I have to eat this big piece of cake now because I can't have any for the next few days. I just kind of handled my pregnancy cravings the same way that I've been handling any cravings. Like if I want something, I eat it. I'm just smart about it. And because I understand calories and nutrition and I know how much my body needs, I know what adjustments to make in other areas so that I'm not over consuming calories in such a way that I'm going to put weight back on.
Oh, I love it.
You know
Smart.
what I really, as you were talking, I was recognizing something is that you had basically no trust within yourself before surgery. You didn't trust yourself around food. You didn't trust yourself about your coping mechanisms, nothing. And you've really flipped it to now you have the ultimate trust with yourself.
She's like confident as fuck.
Yeah. Like as you're talking, like I'm just seeing you have so much trust with yourself of like, no food's off limits because I don't want to go through that restrict binge. And so I'm going to have this, but then I'm going to adjust the rest of my schedule because I trust that I'm doing the right thing. And I absolutely love that. I am constantly working on building trust within myself.
Yeah.
So to see it go from one extreme of no trust at all to now having the ultimate trust with yourself is just very I admire that.
It's very inspiring.
Yeah.
Our audience can really see that it can be done, and you can do it even when you feel like you can't trust yourself at all.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us don't trust ourselves going into this. That's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
Like, there's a lot of reasons why we're here, and that's definitely one of them.
Yes.
Like, and for you, like how you weren't sure about like what to do with the coping stuff, because what you were worried about is what I experienced of like, I didn't know that I wasn't coping with my emotions correctly. I didn't realize that I was a food addict. So like, I'm literally, anytime I would be upset or angry or sad, it's food.
Yep.
This is just, but I wasn't doing it where I would have these nights of binging. So I just assumed like, oh, this is how everybody eats.
Yeah.
And it's not how everybody
No.
eats.
And we all cope with food in different ways.
Yep.
So like for me, it was, I eat a large quantity and I either purge or then I restrict for the next few days.
Yep.
That was how I coped. And I could give myself control because I'm saying, okay, I'm choosing to binge, purge, or restrict.
Yeah.
I'm choosing these 3 things.
Oh, that's a control thing, huh?
It is a control thing. Yeah.
Okay.
So when you feel out of control, that's a way that you can bring control back in, is I'm controlling these aspects. Like when I was bedridden,
Yeah.
I had no control over my body, but I could control the massive amounts of ice cream I was going to eat at night.
Yep.
Massive amounts.
Massive.
But I coped like that. Your food coping looks completely different.
It does. Yeah.
And I think it's hard for people to realize that it can be a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
It could be that you go through the drive-through of fast food and you get 5 burgers, you eat them all in your car, throw it away.
I love that you just said that was literally me. The drive-through, going through the drive-through, getting, way more than I needed, eating it by myself on the way home, sitting in the car and crying in the driveway, and then pulling myself together and going inside the house.
Yep. And pretending like everything's fine.
Yep.
Everything's good.
Yeah, everything is fine. And the thing with it is, though, is like, this is what I understood when I studied nutrition as well, is how food actually does calm you. So like you said, it might be in different ways. Like I might be going through the drive-through, you're eating the ice cream, someone else is coping with it in different ways. But at the same time, you're all achieving the same goal. Because when you eat, it regulates your nervous system. So are you guys familiar with like your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous system?
Yeah.
Obviously, when you are in that fight or flight mode and your body is like, it's panic, it thinks that there is danger. And your brain is like, well, we're not really in danger. I need to calm you down. The easiest and quickest way to do that is to eat something. Because the way I like to think about it is, if you go back into caveman days or whatever you believe, if I'm running away from a man-eating bear, I am not going to stop and pick berries and have a little snack.
No.
So as soon as I eat something, my body's like, oh, I'm safe, because you wouldn't be doing this if you were in an unsafe situation. So when you're feeling stressed out, you turn towards food, because without even consciously realizing it, your brain is like, I need to calm down. We need to calm down. We need to calm down. Eat something. Your body immediately goes, and you relax and you're like, okay, I feel safe. I feel calm now. So regardless of how you're going about the eating, everyone's looking for that same, like, calms down, regulates you, brings you out of that, fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause like, I know as you're talking, I was like picturing my old Mel doing that. Like where like I would like fight with my mom. And then once I'd go home, I'd grab the food that I wanted and I would feel relaxed.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, finally.
Yep.
So much better now.
Yeah. And
now you're like, I'm safe now. I can relax now. I can remember doing that and I haven't even eaten it yet. I've just gone and got it. And the fact that I'm like holding it and I can eat it if I want to, I can immediately feel like everything just kind of decreases.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that.
And I get that feeling just from buying the item and just having it in the house somewhere. Like we've talked about that several times. It's like, as long as I have it somewhere and know that I could have it later, I feel very good.
Yes.
I feel very like,
and that's
relaxed.
where I think the routines that you build after surgery come is so important.
Yeah.
Because if you're using yoga and every time you get into that fight or flight mode and you just immediately say, okay, I'm going to do 30 minutes of yoga every time that I get into that mode, or whatever it is, for me, it's like sitting down with my coffee and journaling. Like I feel safe. I feel like I have control. It's a very relaxed state for me. And instead of going to food now, that is what I'm going to.
Yeah.
So when
it's a win, man.
we got into an argument and I immediately went home and didn't even go to the kitchen. I literally went home, grabbed my journal, made some tea, and I sat there and I wrote about it.
There you go.
Because it was the only thing, like, I was like, you can't just, like, food's not going to do anything. Like, the only way to get this out is to write it down.
Yep.
And I wrote it down.
Like, physically get it out.
Yeah. And then I can see it. I know that it's done. I know that I've written about it. And I don't have these feelings like stuffed inside of me anymore.
It is interesting what journaling does. And you can tell us, Laura, if this happens to you too when you journal, is like, I'll get all of it out on paper. And then I feel more relaxed. Mm-hmm. And then my brain stops thinking about it. Mm-hmm. It's weird. Yeah. I was like, I didn't think that would happen. I just thought like I would still think about it and obsess over it. And then no, the obsession goes away. Yeah. Like, it's interesting.
We refer to it as the brain dump. So it's basically like a dumping ground for what's in your brain. And once you take it out, it's out. And then, I think a lot of times as well, what's going on in your head is you're rationalizing things or you're trying to like make sense of it. Mm-hmm. And when we keep it inside our heads, we often can't make sense of it. Whereas when we verbalize it or if we write it down as it's coming out of us, it clicks and we understand it more, or we realize we don't care about it, or we realize something that makes us feel like, okay, I've accepted this and I've acknowledged it now, and it doesn't need to be constantly whirring around my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. My therapist actually told me that.
What?
Back like my first appointment with him, when he wanted me to start journaling, he said, this is the point where you're going to start doing your brain dump. Mm. This is where you're going to start writing these things down, and they don't even have to make sense.
Nope.
As long as you are getting them down on the paper, you're not going to think about them anymore.
Well, at the award show, so the award show night happened. Then the next day, after the benchies, I took a bath, right?
Yeah.
And I was journaling in the bath. And what was happening, I had like 2 pages going. One was like just brain dump crap, but once it was out, I was able to flip over and start writing like comedy bits. But then as I'd write comedy bits, all of a sudden I'd flash back and start writing back on the other stuff. So I was like going back and forth. And then after the bath and everything was over, I felt great. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that my brain was going to go bloop, 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 bloop all over the place. And it's okay to do that.
Like, totally
it's your fucking journal. So whatever you want it to look like, just let it be. Because I know like some of us are like, it needs to look perfect. It gotta have the date.
Mine does not have anything.
And I don't either. I just start going.
Yeah. And mine probably don't even make sense if I went back and read it.
Well, mine make me cry when I look back and read them. So I just don't. I mean, I do, because my therapist has made me, and it's like, it's just eye-opening because you're like, I really feel this way.
Yep.
Because like some of the things that come out, I didn't realize I felt that way until like I wrote it down on paper a couple of times. And I was like, oh, I really do care.
I've done a long, not nice journaling sessions about myself. And back when I first started, and I actually looked at it the other day, and I was like, wow. That is not where my mindset is now. So.
And it's cool to look back on. So those that aren't journaling, like, you hear us all the time talking about it. And this is why, is because the brain dump happens, you feel relief. And then also you can look back and see how far you've come.
Yes. And that's exactly what happened to me, is I look back and I was like, wow, I was not nice to myself, but I'm starting.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. It's taking a while, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, of course.
And I think it's good. I think it's healthy. Even if you sit down like once every couple of weeks or even once a month, and you're using that as a brain dump once a month, I think it's so beneficial.
It is.
So,
yeah. Well, and I know that you're a coach for fitness too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I do a little bit of everything. I think you need it's because you can't just look at bariatric surgery as like one thing, you know, like it changes your nutrition, because you're generally going to be eating like, you know, more protein and less refined carbohydrates, and you're focusing on hydration and things. But then you also need to look at your fitness, like what are you doing to keep active? Because that's an important part of, you know, like bone density and muscle mass and things like that. What are you doing that actually works for you, that you enjoy, that you can keep doing? Because there's no point doing something that you hate or doing something that you have to force yourself to do, because you'll never be consistent with it. And then there's the mindset side of things as well. So I work on, all three areas, because I think you need to focus on all three to have that really good success. And I think that's why I've been so successful with losing the weight and keeping it off and finding it, I wouldn't say easy, but I guess in some ways easy, is because I've just focused on one area. I've been like, okay, I need to work on this and this and this, and I need to tie them all together, and I need to do it slowly, and I need to do it in a way that I actually enjoy. And I don't like this, so I'm not going to do it, even though everyone else says it's great. Or, mainstream media diet culture says that like, this is the perfect diet, but I don't enjoy that, so I'm not going to do that. So I've really honed into what I like and what works for me as an individual, rather than what you kind of think that maybe you should be doing.
Well, I think diet culture has always told us and shown us that we need to do it this way. And if this doesn't work, you're not going to lose weight. And I'm going back to a moment where my little sister was doing a fitness competition.
Oh, yeah.
And she lost
She looked
she's
great,
already small,
man.
but she was very, it was unhealthy.
She was so muscular.
She had like a 3% body fat. Like, it was insane. Yeah. But I was like, hey, what are you eating? And she was like, oh, I eat, quinoa and sweet potato and chicken. And I was like, oh, you should help me.
Broccoli.
I was like, oh, if you can help me cook that, then I'm going to lose weight too. So she came over, showed me how to cook everything. We portioned it all out. I ate 2 bites and I was like, I hate this. I hate this. Like, I would much rather never eat again than eat that again. Like, it was so gross. And I was like, but I have to eat this because I'm not going to lose weight if I don't. And that's just so purely not even correct. It's so incorrect in that thought process. But I think that's where it goes on to diet culture. Diet culture shows you have to do A, B, and C or you won't lose weight. And that's not true.
No. Well, that's the education piece that I think you need is, actually understanding, when people say, with what you were saying, oh, I have to eat the sweet potato and the quinoa and stuff. No, you don't have to eat those foods, because it's not about the food. It's about the calories in the food. That's what's going to mean that you lose weight or not. So you could literally have chocolate cake for breakfast if you wanted to every day and still lose weight if you're in your calories. There's a big separation. One thing that I'm very vocal about is the separation between weight loss and nutrients and health. They're two very different things, because you can eat a very healthy diet, and by healthy you're having all of your vitamins and minerals and fats, and you're eating nuts and avocados and fruits and vegetables, and you're getting a lot of great nutrients, but you're gaining weight because you're in a calorie surplus. Just like you could eat a diet where you only eat takeout and cake and chocolate and coffee and everything like that, and you're losing weight because you're in a calorie deficit. So losing weight doesn't mean you're being healthy, and being healthy doesn't mean you're going to lose weight. But diet culture kind of pairs those two things together and says that they're one, and they're not. And I think separating them and looking at them as two individual things really helps you to know, what do I need to do to lose weight, and what do I need to do to be health conscious, and then figuring out each one of those, what works for you, and then pairing them together for you.
Yeah, that is what we need to start doing with our mindset around it. Because so I was on TikTok this morning, and it was the Berry Girls, the Berry Hive. I don't know if people have looked at her, but she's freaking awesome. Yeah. But she was talking about diet culture today. Okay. And she's like, guys, it literally the first 3 letters, DIE. No, we shouldn't even be thinking about it. We shouldn't be dealing with it. I don't like DIE. I was like, oh my God. And that's a great way to look at it. It's it's not a die. You don't want to die. So do it the right ways for yourself. Figure it out, because I like different foods than Kelly does. Yeah. So we just need to figure out what you like and enjoy and do those things. Because the same thing with working out and doing movement, you have to just find what you thoroughly actually enjoy.
Yeah, because if it's torture to get up and go to the gym every day,
you're not going to.
That's not the right place for you to be, because you're not only stressing about going, but you have a lot of built up I don't want to do this. And then you're stressing out, and then you have to go, and then it's just not a fun experience. But if you make it something that you enjoy and like doing, it makes it a lot easier.
It does.
And you're not stressing beforehand.
Yeah. That whole anxiety before is it's gone, because you're doing what you actually like to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
plays into it as well, because if you're then not feeling stressed out about the exercise or the activity you're going to go and do, that's not impacting your ability to be consistent with your nutrition. Because again, if stress is a trigger for you with, say, binge eating, and now you're stressed about going to the gym because you don't want to do it, you're triggering the binge eating, which you then have to handle that. So now you're just adding all these things to your like mental load. Whereas if you just said, you know what, I hate the gym and I don't enjoy it and I'm not going to go, and instead I'm going to go do something else. I love swimming, so I'm going to swim twice a week instead. And now you're excited about swimming and you enjoy doing it. So not only have you found something you like that's keeping you active and you're not going through that mental, will I go, will I not go, you're then not triggering the stress in yourself, which triggers the binge eating, which you then have to manage as well. So I think listening to you and doing what you want to do has this kind of knock-on effect as well that we often don't think about how that's impacting things.
Yeah, I think that sometimes it's hard, especially in the beginning, to have all of these things coming at you that you're trying to like do. You're trying to figure out your nutrition, how much you can eat, what exercises you can do, and then so it can become very overwhelming easily.
Yes.
So if you stick with the things that you like, it's less overwhelming.
Correct.
So like if you have a list of foods, these are some foods that I really enjoy eating. Okay. So stick with those because you know that that's not going to become a stressful situation.
Exactly.
And the same thing with exercise. If you find something that you enjoy, it's not going to be as overwhelming as you're starting all of these new things and you're stressed out about all of them.
Yeah. Baby steps, do the little things at a time.
And just stick with what you like.
Stick with what you like.
Unless it's chocolate cake for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then we should probably move that away from that.
And then we need to have a conversation.
Yes.
Message any of us.
Yes.
We will help you out if you're having cake all day long.
Exactly. So what was the most surprising thing you learned about yourself after surgery?
The immediate thing that I don't know if this is the most surprising, but the thing that just jumped straight to my mind was I like hiking. Which is simply because we went on a hike the other day. So it's supposed to be snowing here. It should have been snowing for like the last month and it hasn't been snowing. And we're all disappointed because my husband and kids can't go. We're supposed to be going skiing. So they're not doing any of that. And so my husband was like, look, there's this really old tree. It's like 1,300 years old and it's this big hike. So he's like, why don't we go with some of our friends? And I was like, okay, cool. Like that sounds fun. And we did it and I actually enjoyed it. And when we were coming back, we were talking about this hike that we went on back in New Zealand years ago when I was obese. And hate is not even a strong enough word to describe how much that experience was just not good. Like I can clearly remember how I felt, the emotions. It was just a horrible, horrible experience. And we've not done it pretty much since. Wow. And so doing it then I was like, I liked it and I liked being in nature and I liked just, I don't know, the monotony of just walking along and chatting and the kids were having a good time. And it just occurred to me that like, I would not have done this when I was like 260 plus pounds. I just would not have done it. And I wouldn't have had this experience. I wouldn't have had this day, the joy with my children, like bonding with my husband, with our friends. I would have stayed home. I would have been like, no, you guys go. And I would have missed out on that whole experience and everything that comes with it. And I would have missed out on it a lot because there's been a lot of other things that we've done now that I wouldn't have done. So I think probably that.
I like it.
I like it because that's such a it's a non-scale victory.
It is.
And it's something that now you enjoy and you actually had a past event that you really hated.
Yeah.
And I know what that feels like because there's a beach incident that I fucking really hate.
Yeah. Yep.
So I get it because now I can walk on the beach all I want. But before it was like, we got to take some breaks.
Yep.
I'm sweating. I'm getting angry.
Yep.
Everyone's waiting on me. I'm getting so mad.
Yep.
So it's like, it's such a good win to have and you can look back on.
Yeah.
Because that can keep you going when you're having down days because we all have those. So yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we hop off?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I hope that it's like helpful. I know it was helpful for me when I was going through everything to just listen to other people's stories and experiences and that dissecting of being like, okay, well, they tried this, so I'm going to try it. Not that they did it this way and it worked for them, so it must work for me, but like, oh, I haven't tried this before, like maybe someone will hear the shower visualization thing and give it a go and be like, this is amazing. And it makes them feel great. And someone else might try it and be like, this is ridiculous. Like,
I'm going to try it and I'm going to let you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like it's really nice to just be able to connect more with people. Like, we've been, I don't think we said on the podcast, we've been traveling for the last like 3 and a bit years. So I haven't actually spent all that much time around people who have had bariatric surgery, like other than the people that I've worked with on like a more of a professional level. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to just chat with people and meet like friends and stuff and hear how everybody else is going. And just that normalization of, even though I've, done that you could look at it on paper and go, yeah, I've done exceptionally well. Like I lost 100% of my excess body fat and all of that. And it is good, but I'm always going to an extent need to think about these things. Like I'm always going to be thinking like, am I regulating my emotions well? Like, am I eating this because I'm like using food as a coping mechanism, or am I just craving something and I'm feeling okay about it? Like I'm always having to do that constant check in. And I think just knowing that like that is normal. And when you've been someone who's had food addiction or, binge and restrict eating disorder, anything like that, there's a decent chance that it is always for the rest of your life going to be something that you need to work on. And I think if I could, tell listeners one thing, it would be to accept that there isn't an end point. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get to a point where you're like, oh, I'm done now. Like you're always going to need to be mindful of these things, but you can set your life up in a way that makes that easy. But I think once I accepted that I'm always going to need to consider these things and became okay with that that's just who I am and that's just part of my life, I then wasn't so worried or stressed about that in itself. I wasn't trying to reach this goal that was just unobtainable. I'm just like, right, I'm just living my life, making the best decision I can in the moment, being as happy as I possibly can be. And that's what I think for me, success after bariatric surgery has become.
I like it.
That's a good story. I love it. I love it. Well, we appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us. Is there anything that you want to, what's the word for it? Plug? Like, do you have like your Instagram handle? Like, do you have any books or do you have anything that you'd like to tell people to go look at?
Yeah, so I have my Instagram, which is just my name _Laura Ballantyne, where I'm posting, a whole bunch of just information and things like that I work on with clients and little snippets and stuff. I also have a bariatric surgery course that I created. So it's a 12-week course that breaks down all of the sections, as I mentioned. A lot of it's fact-based, so just understanding like weight fluctuations, different things that happen within your body, coping mechanisms in those 3 areas of nutrition, fitness, and mindset. Okay. So no, it's just something that I think, and I've heard you guys talk about this on podcasts as well, that kind of missing bit, like there's not as much support after surgery. And so that's something that, I really enjoyed making. And so that's obviously available as well.
Yay. Awesome. And we'll have all that linked below for all the listeners and viewers, depending on what you're doing.
That's right. Because if you're on YouTube, you see us. And if you're not on YouTube, go over to YouTube, hit subscribe and that damn bell. Yes. And then you get to see us every week on Tuesday. You get a new episode.
Yes. And don't forget, we are going to be in Brooklyn. So if you're near the area, go over to oursleevelifepodcast.com, sign up for the newsletters, get your free ebook, and then get your ticket to Brooklyn.
That's right. Go now, man.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Laura, again, for being on and sharing your story. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, thank you. It was lovely to meet you both and have a chat.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. And we love you guys. And we will see you
next time. Bye.